everybody, it's me. This is a bottle episode that we're going to release in June, maybe even July, wherever we need it. So, but don't worry, the content is nonetheless relevant. Still feel the way I feel about it, even when it was recorded. So, enjoy this, or else. I want to recommend a couple of things to everybody, and I want you to pay attention because there's a theme. There's a theme running through them. I like to tie the content together whenever I can for the movies to have a similar, a similarity to them, if possible, or maybe they're made by the same person or whatever. We don't always get that done on the Hoopercast, but we try. I try, so that it makes for a little bit more of a synergistic listening experience for you. So I've managed to do that today. I'm going to recommend two things to you. The first is a series, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Who gives a toast at her own wedding? I do. I love this man. And yes, there is shrimp in the egg rolls.
Rabbi, she's kidding.
We could be downtown people, close to the clubs. I thought you wanted to be a cool chick.
I could be a cool chick with a doorman and a Kelvinator Foodorama refrigerator, can't I?
Yes, you can.
Joe left you? Why? What did you do?
Did you ever think you were supposed to be something, and you suddenly realize you're not?
Yes. Married. I was a great wife. I was fun. I can't believe I'm losing him to Penny Pan. That's her name. Penny Pan. I'm sorry, but look at me. Who wouldn't want to come home to this every night? Think Bob Newhart's got a set of these at home? Wrinkled, maybe. Hey!
15 years I've been working in clubs, okay? Twice have I seen someone deliver the goods. What are you talking about? Talking about your act.
I am a mother.
I don't have an act.
You will when we're done.
Hi, everybody.
Heard some uptown chick got arrested doing a set.
What's the crime?
Simulating a sex act while on stage.
That's bullshit.
Mrs. Maisel! She's gonna do what with her life? Sit around all day long eating bonbons. Is that what you want for her?
Of course not.
That's what's gonna happen.
It's not.
It's
Get out of here!
This comedy thing, it has to work.
I'm gonna count to 5. 1.
That's the end of my show, folks. Tune in next week when my grandmother steals my
3,
pearls and fucks my boyfriend.
We charge for pictures now.
There's something here about miming a whore tickling a man's testicles.
Oh, I did do
Yeah,
that.
she did. It was fucking funny.
So this show premiered in 2017, and on May 26th of this year, it aired its final episode. So there are 5 seasons of this show in total, 43 episodes on Amazon Prime Video. Before I get started, the credit belongs to my wife here. The reason I even saw the show to begin with, she was the one who suggested the show. She is drawn to historical fiction, which is a genre I'm not usually fond of. A lot of times I'll get pulled into a show. A lot of shows got greenlit after Mad Men was successful. And so for a while there was this run of like, oh, let's recreate the magic of Mad Men. So like there was the Pan Am show, and there's other shows, and then there's the Hollywood show that that was on Netflix. I especially didn't really like because it was revisionist, and I thought that was too pretendy for me. There's a line, I think, with when you're going to insert a character into an actual time period and meet real people who existed in the time period. You have to limit what you're going to do with those real life characters so that you're not literally changing history. Otherwise, you're breaking the wall to me. I can't now think of this as something that could have happened. It's like, oh, this definitely didn't happen. And that's too much for me. Anyways, so I'm not usually fond of this genre because too many creators are not able to deliver a show without essentially, to me, cheating and just changing history to suit the whims of their show. my wife said she thought I would enjoy, I think she watched the pilot, and she said she thought I would enjoy the writing and the jokes, and she might have mentioned the filmmaking aspects. I can't remember. This is a show that is created by Amy Sherman Palladino, and it's, executive produced by her and her husband, Dan Palladino. And those are the two people who are responsible for Gilmore Girls, which is another great show. This is about a woman in the late 1950s in New York City. She's a Jewish American housewife, and she learns of her. She's a very witty, fast talking, funny woman. She learns that her husband is having an affair, and he's like a wannabe stand-up comedian. He's not very funny, and she learns of the affair, drinks a bottle of wine or something, stumbles on stage at the comedy club they were just at, and does like an impromptu set about the situation. She improvises the entire thing, and she gets a lot of laughs. The police come because it's 1959. She gets arrested for indecency. In jail, she meets Lenny Bruce, the famous comedian, who essentially gives her some encouraging words. And she learns how much she loves stand-up. And over the course of the series, she gets a manager. She learns the business. She stumbles. She achieves, fails, navigates her personal life, and ultimately gets her big break. So the show stars Rachel Brosnahan as Midge Maisel. We've got Alex Borstein. People may know her from Family Guy. Alex Borstein is here in live action as Susie Meyerson, her manager, and who recognizes the potential, sees something in Midge. And the series is really built around them. But you've also got a lot of other great actors. You got Michael Zagan as her ex-husband, Joel, Maren Hinkle as her mother, Tony Shalhoub as her father. So good. Kevin Pollak and Caroline Aaron are the actors who play Joel's, her in-laws. There's also Luke Kirby in here and there as Lenny Bruce. Reed Scott shows up in the later seasons as this talk show host, and Jane Lynch as a recurring role as a gimmick comic. And the show is wonderful for so many reasons. There's filmmaking aspects. The show has a lot of oneers, a lot of long single take scenes where camera moves through a lot of Steadicam in this show. Steadicam operator moves through a room or space or a street somewhere. There's no cuts. There's wides, and there's impeccably timed writing. The writing itself is very good. It's witty. It's laugh out loud funny. The performances are excellent from everybody. And the direction, again, those oneers, it's just a really inspired looking show. It's a really well executed show, and it's also deeply emotional. These are real characters who have real pain and real feelings, but also, again, laugh out loud funny, culturally insightful, and really empowering for its viewers. Midge is a strong avatar for women finding their voice in a man's world, which is a concept that is extremely pervasive in this time period, but still a major obstacle in our current one still. She's not anachronistic. She's not like, oh, okay, a woman like this would never speak out in such a way or be using these phrases. She's not a 2023 woman. She's just she's just a woman who found an opportunity to express herself in a way that she never thought would be possible, and in a way that she realizes she's very skilled at. And through her career as a comic, comes out of her shell even more than she already was. It's not like she was demure. She was just doing the thing. I'm being the housewife. And that was enough for her because she had the respect of her husband. And then when he cheated on her and that sort of blew up her self-image, she realized that she had this spirit inside of her that has been unlocked through stand-up. And it's allowed her to raise all boats for other women around her, especially as she gets more and more ingrained into the entertainment industry. But it also allows her to be a more self-actualized human being. And that's just a really powerful show. I'll be rewatching the show. I always tell people like the markers of an actual quality television show are the ones that you can rewatch and enjoy even more on a second viewing, that would hold up to a second viewing. And this one is one of those shows. It's not something you watch once and then once you know the ending, it's not interesting anymore. There's so many layers to the show that you catch the details on a rewatch. You appreciate great setups in the writing. You laugh at jokes you missed the first time because you were so busy laughing at the jokes you did hear, and the characters talk so fast, you're just trying to keep up. And once you're not having to make sure you're keeping up with the plot and the story conclusions, you're able to actually track and admire the emotional arcs of the seasons and the changing relationship dynamics of the characters. And you're really able to see the brilliance of the writing. It's a great show. In the final season, this newest season, they introduced time jumps. And so we see multiple years, different points of time in the future, revealing to us what happened to Midge and her family members and her relationship with Susie over time and her relationship with Fame. And it's not like a rosy, like pretty picture fairy tale. They were sure to be true to Midge's character, but it is a very satisfying ending to a show that said and did so much with its story. I don't give star ratings anymore because I've lost my mojo. This show is 6 stars, 6 out of 5 stars. Great show. One of my favorite television series is period. I don't have a list of them readily available. Everyone's like, oh, favorite show. Oh, top 5 for sure. Top 10. You realize how many TV shows you actually like? So The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, I would conservatively put it in my top 20 television shows ever. And that's only because I'm not positive that I don't at least like 15 shows. But this one's up there. If I had to pack away a show, if every time I watch a TV show, I was told you can either watch this, or you can either repeat this viewing, or never watch the show again, decide in 5 seconds right now, I'd be like, absolutely. I want to take Mrs. Maisel with me. It's a great show. If you have not watched the show, it's on Amazon Prime Video. Statistically, if you are listening to this podcast, you have Amazon Prime. Therefore, you have access to the show and you should watch it. It's really good. That's The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. All right. We're going to stay on theme, but we're going to move and we're going to stay on Amazon Prime, but we are now moving to talk about Judy Blume Forever.
My daughter said, Mother, couldn't you write a book about teenagers who fall in love and do it and nobody has to die? And I thought, yes.
Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. I felt like someone was being honest. That's a gift. That's magic.
There was this moment where, wow, like Judy's talking to me.
I read Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing. I read Deanie. I like the Blubber. This is my favorite book.
I grew up as a good girl with a bad girl lurking inside. So by the time I started to write, I really had a lot to get out. I could be fearless in my writing in a way that maybe I wasn't always in my life.
It was the first book I had read about wanting to grow boobs and the myths around how to get them and what to do.
Everything I learned about sex or crushes, I learned from Judy.
Let's all say it. Masturbation. Let's raise our hands if we masturbate. Everybody. Oh, Judy. We can take turns taking the reins. Overnight, the censors came out of the woodwork.
Forever is banned year after year. Margaret gets banned because it talks about bras.
I think the kids have a right to read and to get honest answers to their questions. Dear Judy. Dear Judy. Dear Judy. Today was the worst day. I have a million problems.
Kids opened up to me in a way that they couldn't to their parents. And I would answer.
This is the first letter I got from Judy.
That was the beginning. We wrote for many years.
She allowed young women to be as complicated and messy and funny as we are.
I had that recognition of I trust you, and wherever you're going, I'm down to come with you.
I don't think that Judy Blume wrote her books to be timeless. I think she wrote her books to be timely, and they were so timely that they became timeless.
Judy Blume Forever is a documentary. It was released in 2023. It was in January at Sundance, and then in April, it popped onto Amazon Prime Video. It's directed by Davina Pardo and Leah Wolchok, and it's a documentary centered around the author Judy Blume. It's really a celebration of her and a contextualizer of her career. And it's simple as that, really. I mean, if you hate Judy Blume, you're not going to watch this, but if you love Judy Blume, you read her books when you were a kid and you grew up knowing who she was, then this is something that you would enjoy. And it's interesting. And it's more than a light recommendation. It's a really timely documentary because right now we're in like a new wave, a renewed push for censorship of books for some insane reason in the United States of America. We're cool with banning books again, which is stupid. And Judy Blume is the very embodiment of why we have the First Amendment, why writers are valuable, why courage is important. You know what? And similar to Midge Maisel, she was someone who got married and did the thing. She was a housewife because that's just what everyone did in that time period. That's just what everyone did in the 50s, 60s. There's a whole lot of pretend, a whole lot of let's pretend everything's fine when it's not fine. And Judy Blume got married to someone she loved, and had a couple of kids, and then sort of realized like, I've got these things to say, and started writing books, little children's Dr. Seuss-like books for her kids, and then would submit them, and then got rejected, and then finally was like, you know what? I really would rather be writing novels. Starts writing books, and that blows up. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret blows up. Anyway, there was a need for books that spoke to girls who were 12 and up and were experiencing important changes in their bodies and their lives, like just in the way that they think. It's a big age. And Judy Blume was here to meet that need and to help those girls feel understood, especially in a time period where their parents sure didn't understand them. Society didn't bother to try to understand them, and therefore they didn't understand themselves. You can pretend, and this goes for then and today, you can pretend your kids aren't growing up and their bodies aren't changing and that they'll never be in a relationship, but you're fooling yourselves and you're leaving those kids unprepared for it. And you're leaving them with no choice but to seek out guidance from someone else. It's not a question of will your kids learn about sex. It's a question of when and how. And do you want to be a part of that? Or do you want to just pretend it's not happening? And then one day you find out a lot more suddenly than you want to. And you realize that's not how I would have wanted this to go. Well, it's too late. You had your chance. You had your chance to be a part of it. And you instead were in denial. And that's kind of the spearhead of what Judy Blume is saying. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret made young girls feel safe and proud and excited about developing in a time where the media and the culture had been making it weird. And what had existed at the time was not adequate or acceptable. So the book was life-changing for so many people. And it gets banned. Judy was confronted by men, for example, a school principal who told her that girl characters masturbating in books as opposed to young boys wasn't normal. It's like, yeah, if it had been a young boy, like that'd be normal, but a young girl, like that's not normal. It's perverted. And Judy Blume was like, well, I'm sorry to surprise you, but in fact, it is normal. You just don't realize it or don't want to accept it. Her books helped young girls feel seen and empowered, and it helped young boys and girls to understand each other better than the culture was willing to do for them. And she found that she was, as just like Midge Maisel was the most alive and the most fearless doing comedy, doing stand-up. Judy Blume found out that she was the most fearless as a writer, and that her writing was where she could do the most good for the women's liberation movement. And of course, I talked about censorship earlier. As soon as there's been censorship here and there across history, but for her, as soon as Ronald Reagan was elected president of the United States, there was a strong push for censorship. And it angers me so much. And again, it's because it's happening today. You've got Texas banning books. You've got Florida banning books. Ron DeSantis, wants to ban books. Just banning book. I don't think a single human being in the United States that calls themselves an American could ever advocate for banning any book, period. You can't. You can't advocate for that and call yourself an American. Certainly not an American who believes in the Constitution. Free speech means free speech for everybody. If there's something out there you don't like, your job isn't to try to make it go away. Your job is to go, oh, well, I disagree. You want to control what kids are reading? You can have your own kids and limit them. But don't tell me what my kids can't read. That's their decision and my decision as their parent until they're adults. The First Amendment allows books to be published and available anywhere. And it's a childish impulse. I keep coming back to this word childish lately with some of this stuff. It's a childish impulse to feel threatened by something and then act like you can just make it disappear. And for Judy Blume, through her criticism by idiots like Pat Buchanan, she learned you can't debate against a zealot. You just have to keep doing what you're doing. You can't reason with someone who's that radicalized against you. There's no reasoning with them. Their argument isn't based on reason. It's either blind party affiliation or it's just blind emotional anger at what you're presenting. She had a really great editor who believed in her and supported her content decisions no matter what. And that was a big deal for him to say, Judy, that if you use this word, if you put the F word in here, the book clubs aren't going to accept it, but that's fine. If that's what you want to do, we'll do it. He didn't put any limits on her. Again, just about book banning real quick, again, because this is such a big problem. Taking books off the shelves deprives people without the means to buy books. You're depriving them of the opportunity to read about things that might be important to them. You may not agree with gender identity issues or race identity or stuff, anything like that. That doesn't mean other people shouldn't be allowed to read it and learn about it or feel validated by it. That's just you not liking something about the world and you don't want that idea to spread. And that's censorship and it's wrong. For me, the only thing you've accomplished by putting books on the ban list is you just gave me a nice, tidy list from which I can select books that I'm now very interested in reading. I grabbed 2 of them this morning and put them on my library list. I'm excited about it. Oh, what's so forbidden about this? It's the classic dynamic. You made something forbidden. You're going to make people curious about it. But for me, it's more than curiosity. It's, oh no, I want to support those authors for putting out work. And because I don't believe in book banning, I'm going to go read it and at least let it live on in me. It's so ridiculous. I can't believe it, And it's, again, these are red states, Texas, Florida. I know Florida's a swing state, but the governor's very Republican and the legislature's very Republican. And they're doing stuff lately that I don't like. And nope, that does not fly with me. After I watched this documentary, I was always passionate about this, but I didn't know if there was anything I could do. I went to the book list on PEN America and got a couple on my library list, joined their newsletter email list. I'm now going to be made aware of when there are issues of censorship or free speech under attack in general. And I'm going to start monitoring this because I've found how much I care about this. Just let people write. If you're afraid of the things that they're saying, come up with a good argument. When I was in 5th grade, I was given a copy. I've told this story before, but when I was in 5th grade, I was given a copy of everyone at the end of the year was given a copy of a book by our teacher, Mrs. Sullivan. And she had selected the books based on what she thought we would like. It was more of like an end of the year present, you know, and it's just based on what I think you'll enjoy based on our time together this year. It was very sweet and very personal. And she gave me a copy. This was, you know, what was I, 5th grade? How old was I? I mean, this was, you know, late 90s. She gave me a copy of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I came home and I showed my mom. I was like, hey, Mom, look what she got me. Mom took the book. And then she, you know, because of the climate at the time of, you know, Christian parents all up in arms about witchcraft and, you know, the tail end of the satanic panic, I, along with many other kids in America, was not allowed to read Harry Potter. Nope, he's a wizard. Nope. His friends are witches. No, sorry, you can't read it. And I didn't care as much then. I was like, oh, okay, I just trust her. I was like, oh, all right, well, if you say so. And then later in life, I was like, hey, wait a minute, that's kind of bullshit. Like, you know, especially once you watch the movies and you realize like, oh, these are really good stories. And it's not about like devil worship. It's about witches and wizards, but they're good. They fight for good things. And some of them don't fight for good things, but those are clearly bad wizards and witches. And they're the villains. And I understand that. And then my wife got me all the books for Christmas one year. And I read them all. And I was so happy and then angry. Somebody deprived me of this, of having this experience as I grew up. And what that would have done for me, especially considering that I grew up really, really, really loving the values that are expressed in those books. Courage, friendship, perseverance, love. Not that I didn't get some of that from other things, but from a story, from a book, like that's powerful. And I missed out on that. I didn't get that till I was 22, 23 or 21, something, my early 20s when I actually read the books for the first time. And it still was important to me, but I wasn't a child anymore. What could it have done for me if I had read it at the time? I was among those kids who was the age of the main characters. I was 11 when the Sorcerer's Stone came out, and I would have grown with the books, as so many of us who were born in the late 80s grow with those stories. And I missed that because someone told me. Now, to be fair, this person who told me I couldn't read it was my parent. If anyone can tell me what I can't read, it's my parents. If there's anyone who can tell my kids what not to read, it's me or my wife. But my wife and I have never put a restriction on reading for our kids, except for like content. Like, hey, this is a book. Like, can't read this book. It's just really adult. I'm not going to stop my kid from reading a Judy Blume book. Because to do that is pretending that the book is going to give them an idea they haven't already had. And it's naive to think that kids don't have ideas already, that they're not hearing curse words at school, that they're not hearing, you know, about their special place from their friends. You know, it's naive to think that. You know, I'm not handing them a dirty magazine. I'm handing them a story with characters that they can identify with, and they don't feel so weird and awkward about what they're going through. And telling people that that should be on a list of books that no one's allowed to read. Fuck that. That's enough. I'm just rambling now. Really great stuff. Great shows. You know, both about expressing yourself, women expressing themselves, and the culture being better for it. And how everyone, male or female, can do the same. Great stuff. So I want to recommend those to you guys. I think they're terrific. You've got Prime Video. You've got them. Watch Judy Blume Forever, and then get started with someone, with a loved one. Watch The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And I will guarantee you that you will not feel that either is a waste of time. That's it. that's it for this episode of the Hoopercast. Whenever this came out, hope you enjoyed it. Probably June, maybe even July. Hope you're having a good summer. Take it in. It's not going to be here much longer. School's coming up soon. Not too soon, but, not too far away either. If you're a parent, enjoy this time with your kids if they're home. And I'll see you next time.